Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good day, everybody. If you can hear me, just confirm in the box so we can start the class. Okay, wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much. Also, Eid Shama Mubarak. And I didn't see, because I already talked to Ali about that. I don't know whether Ali is in the class or no right now. I already talked to him and I told him that maybe we start class today at 3, but I didn't see the announcement in the group. Is Ali here? Wa alaikum assalam. But it was not in the group. I didn't see the announcement in the group. And also I received a call from the university that they said that everybody are in the class, but you didn't attend. Anyhow, okay, if you told everybody, it's okay. Okay, and sorry for the delay. I was out because some of the classes are at the university and some of the classes are, virtual. It's difficult to travel between places. Anyhow, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Eid Shama Mubarak and Tabrik for the Eid. Inshallah, all of your prayer will be accepted by Allah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rasha. Okay, let's go because we already started late and it's better that we start the class. Let's go to the just Ali. Oh, okay, Ali. Okay, as far as you told them, it's fine. Okay, thank you. I understood. Okay, it's as far as you told the student and they knew that they shouldn't wait because it's not good for them to wait 1 hour for me. As far as they knew, it's okay. Thank you very much. And the next thing, I think the deadline for the last homework, last assignment, I made a mistake for the date to submit the assignment, but I think even in Darsa, after the deadline passes, still you can submit. Okay, after the deadline passes, still it's open and you can submit, but it just add the dates that it's late for submitting this assignment. So it's okay if you submit your assignment, it's okay. Please do not pay attention to the date that has written there or the notification that is already late for this assignment. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's okay. You just upload the assignment, everything is fine. So the date was a mistake and Ali told me, now I told him it's mistake. But please, for all of the students, it is important that you upload the assignment in Darsa, because when you email me, okay, I don't have your complete names, or sometimes you forget to add the details and I cannot find you in the list to put the marks for the assignment. So try your best to submit your assignment through the Darsa. If you couldn't, then you can send me through the email, but that's very important because there is a possibility that you miss the marks. Okay, anyhow, let's go back to the lecture. Let's go back to the... Yes, Rasha, you can ask questions. Okay. Yes, I'll wait for you to ask the question before I go to the NAT. About DHCP server, yes. Okay. It's a good question. You see, it depends on your design. Okay. Okay, I got your question, Rasha. Okay, it depends on the design. You see, this is your network. Okay, there are two ways to set rules for the network, and I assume that this is firewall. Okay, I just add one layer to be easy to explain. Okay, I put firewall Saleh, about the exam, I don't know. You should ask university. Every class or every session you ask the same question. The classes are online, or they are at the university, or the exam are online or at the university. It depends on the university rules. Okay, I have no idea. They tell me to attend the university, I will come to the university. If it's online, it's online. It's up to the university. I don't know. You may ask the head of the department. In Farsi we say مدیر گروه. Okay, you may ask دانشگاه or مدیر گروه for that one. Okay, and for that one I don't know. Okay, we go back to the Rasha's question. You see, when you have firewall, you can have two policies. For example, when you have inside the firewall, you have users. Okay, you have users that they do not need access to the internet. That in the last rule, something that you can put is deny any. Okay, something like that. So you close everything for everybody. But if you need, for example, this is internet. Okay, but for example, if you need for users to have internet, then you need rules for DHCP. Okay, because at the end you cannot deny any. You should permit any. Okay, that's the last rule. If you, for example, you want to your users to have internet, so if that's so, you can put DHCP in here. Okay, and you have user. If you want users to have internet like this, okay, but you don't want attackers to access your DHCP. Something that you should something that you should do is that, for example, you say from DHCP any port to anyone on the internet, any port TCP UDP deny. Okay, this is for example, into out. Just hold on a second. This is in. Okay, then any DHCP any port TCP UDP deny. So this can be for the rule into out, and that can be for out to in. So it means that everybody that wants to access the DHCP server, or any packet that wants to go out from the DHCP server, you say it's denied. Okay, so you can do the same thing with, for example, if you want to give users internet, you have to give same thing with this is a mistyping. You can do the same thing with database server and the other servers. So it's the general rule is that, okay, it's either either it's I try to write it in Arabic, okay? It's either you open necessary ports and أيضا تفتح ضروري ports and IPs, okay, and then close and then close all, or ثم ينفي كل شيء. Okay, this is the first solution. The second solution is that تقوم بالإغلاق القدوم المباني محبة, something like this, or you close and deny important server and ports, then ثم افتح الباقي. Okay, ثم افتح الباقي. Okay, these are two solutions. The first solution is that you open those necessary ports and then you close everything, or the second solution is that you close those ports that are not necessary or they are servers and then you open everything. These are two different solutions or different policies, okay, you can take. Policy is siyasat, okay, it's different siyasat. Okay, Rasha? How to determine the port? You can search the internet, okay, for determining the determine which port to close. You can search the internet, especially for servers. Open only necessary ports, okay, or deny everything. Okay, for servers, if they do not need access to the internet, you just deny everything. Okay, if you need to access the internet, for example, for web servers, only you open HTTP. For, I don't know, for DNS, you open 53. So if you ask why or from where we can understand that 53 is for DNS, you can search the internet and you can find it, or you can look at the log of the system, you will find the ports. Okay, the next thing that can provide the security is network address translation, or also proxy. So if you remember, we said that for separating the systems we can use air gap, okay, or we can use firewall or routers, okay, firewalls or routers that we had examples. Now we talk about NAT and proxy server. It's better, again, I go to the board to explain for you what is NAT. You see, something that NATs do, for example, if this is your local network, and this is internet. Okay, for the computers inside the network to be able to work with the internet, usually inside the or be just on the other side of the net, they have the computers have invalid IP addresses or private IP address. For example, 192.168 and 03, and this is also, for example, 192.168.05. Okay, computers with these IPs cannot work with the internet. Usually we call them private addresses, or we call them local addresses, or we call them invalid addresses. Okay, these are the addresses that you have inside the network. To be able to work with the internet, you need a server. It can be, for example, NAT server or proxy server. First, I explain the NAT server. To be able to work with the internet, for example, Yahoo or Google or whatever it is on the internet. Okay, I also put one computer in detail. So for this one, when you want to work with the internet, NAT server should have one valid or a group of valid IP addresses. For example, 217.2.9, for example, this number 217.219.42.8. Okay, this is the NAT server. So for the NAT server IP address, we call it valid IP address or public IP address or internet IP address. Okay, this is the address of the NAT server that works with the system. So when you want to work, for example, with the internet, or you go to one server, consider that this is Google and this is Yahoo. If you want to work with the internet, you send the information or your request to NAT, and NAT will work with the Google. So this is it, that you have one IP and port. Your IP is, for example, 192.168.03, and the port is 5050. Okay, and then the information will go to Google, which is, for example, Google. It's supposed to go to Google 80. Okay, this is the request from this computer. Okay, from the 192.168.03 port 5050 to Google port 80 for the web. When it comes to the NAT server, NAT will map the request to its own IP address. So it becomes 217.219.42.8, and then, for example, another port, it's like let's say 7235, and then the destination will be Google port 80. Okay, this is what NAT does. So it will change your request. Okay, it will change your request to its own IP addresses. It changes your request to its own يغير طلبك إلى خاصة به. It becomes its own other IP address. Okay, its own IP address, and then it will send to the Google. When Google replies, Google thinks that it will reply to this computer, okay, but actually the answer is for this computer. When the Google reply, it again changes. Not, yes, Ali, it can be computer, or it can be firewall, or it can be router, it can be your modem, any network device can share the network, can also provide the NAT service. That's the port, the new port, okay? 5050 is one port, 7235 is another port. Okay, that's a random port when the request goes, okay? Yes, exactly. You see, we have similar things with the, I don't know, in Iran we call it central, okay? When you have local, for example, telephone lines, okay, inside the corporation, okay, and you, for example, you dial 111, I don't know, 06, and it's one local telephone, okay, and using that central you can also call outside. But when you call outside, there is one main telephone line that you call them from, that telephone to the outside system. We call it central in Farsi. Did you get that? What is it in Arabic? مرکزی, yes, something like that. تحکم, I'm not sure, but سیستم مرکزی. Yes, سیستم مرکزی, تلفن مرکزی, okay? Yes, so it's similar to this one. You see, the computer, okay, uses its own IP address and its own random port to send the request to Google, but instead of the computer, the NAT server will use its own IP addresses, but and one open port from its own IP addresses and send it to the Google. Same thing will happen to this computer. You see, this computer, again, if you look at the request from this computer is 192.168.0.5. For example, the port can be random 1345, okay, to Google, and then port 80. Okay, this is also from this computer. Again, when it goes from the NAT server, it becomes 217, 219, 42.8, and then port, for example, another random port, 4325 to Google port 80. Okay, it becomes like this. From this computer goes to the internet, and then the IP will change to this one, and same thing, the answers will come to the NAT server and will go to the computer. No, 80 is a port for HTTP. Okay, this is about the port. Random ports is from operating system. It manages and uses free ports, like using RAM. Okay. Okay, that's something like using ramp. Okay, it's random. Whenever the port is free, it will assign to the new process that requests a new port. And then when the process finishes, it releases the ports. Again, the operating system can use the port again. So, you see, this is the way that the system works with NATs, okay? They use NAT server to send their request to the internet, and actually it means that the computers which exist on the other side of the NAT, okay, use the NAT server as a proxy, or as what we can say in Arabic, wakil, okay, al-wakil. They use NAT as a proxy or al-wakil to work with the internet instead of them. Yes, exactly, Ali. Google will send the information to the NAT server, but the NAT, these information will directly go to the computer. When it goes to the computer, the NAT server will replace 217.242.8. Okay, the NAT server again will replace this IP address with an address such as set. Okay, will replace with this address and send it to the computer which requested the for example web service or whatever it is. Anyhow, you see what happens when you are on the other side of the NAT. If you are on the other side of the NAT, okay, the attackers, if they listen to the communication, you see, the attackers can listen to these communications, okay. If the attackers listen to the communications or sniff the communication, whatever they see 217.242.8, okay, 217.219.42.80. They see this computer, okay, as a, we call him Farsi Qurbani, okay, in English victim. In Arabic, Zahiyah, okay. Yes, thank you, Ali. Okay, Zahiyah, okay. When they look at the network and they sniff the communication to arrange an attack, okay, they see this IP address, this one, okay. And then when they want to attack, or for example they do the port scan or any other attacks, okay, if they want to do the attack, attacks like DOS or port scan or ping or whatever it is, okay, it happens on any attacks that they arrange, it happens on NAT server. So the computers on the back side of the NAT, they're all safe, okay. It means that the attacker can attack NAT server, but because they use the NAT IP address to communicate with the internet, the attacker cannot attack the computers. So yes, if the attacker is from inside, okay, if you put one attacker here, and it can easily attack everybody, okay, and the NAT cannot do anything. Yes, Hossein, it's correct. Okay, if the attack is from the inside, it can directly access the computers and attack them. Okay, you can directly attack them because it's also on the local network. But from the internet or from the outside, because the computers are on the other side of the NAT, the attackers cannot access the computer. And that's why we say that NAT and proxy can add to the security of the system. Was it clear? Because now I want to explain how we can just pass the NAT when we want to do the attack. Which one? Attacker from the inside or attacker from outside? Okay, the attacker from outside. Okay, you see, the attacker on the internet can sniff the communications because usually attackers sniff the communication. Okay, what the attackers see is the IP addresses of the NAT server. It cannot see, or it never sees the IP addresses of the local computers because they don't use their own IP addresses to work with the internet. Okay, so when it want to, for example, it look at this communication, you see, it look at this communication. Okay, it says, okay, there is one victim with IP address 217 and 219 and 42 and 8 that works with the Google. Okay, actually, for example, this is Ali that wants to work with the internet, and that's Ali that attacker wants to attack. Okay, but when it sees the IP address of NAT server, instead of attacking Ali, it has to attack NAT server because that's the IP that it can see. Or any attack like DOS or port scan, whatever that happens, instead of happening to the computers beside the NAT, it happens to the computers which are responsible for NATing. Okay, so it means that this computer is safe. If I use another example, you see, if you are A, okay, and you give all of your information to B, okay, and B works with the internet, okay, from internet, whatever happens, it happens to B. Was it clear? Okay, Alhamdulillah. So now we should change the scenario to see how we can attack the computer which are beside the NATs. Let me take this line so we can clearly also remove these attacks and this one. You see, something that attacker can do is that, for example, if you as I just change it to A, okay. If you as A, this is the scenario that now we explain how we can pass the NAT, okay. If you as A use the NAT server to communicate with the Google, okay. If you use NAT server to communicate the Google, for going to the Google, you usually use DNS, okay. You usually use DNS to know who is Google. So you will go and ask DNS, and then it will reply you, and then you will go to the Google. So let me put it down here. This is the communication between you. So you will ask DNS who is Google, and it will reply you, and then you will go to the Google. Something that attackers can do is that, let me put it down here, maybe we need it later. Something that hackers can do is that it can go to the DNS and attacks DNS and change the Google, for example, with its own server. We call it fake Google, okay? We call it fake Google. So I will make this one fake Google. I will make this one fake Google. It's here, okay, and that's the Google. When the attacker attacks is done, okay, on the DNS server, again it will ask who is Google, okay, and then the DNS will send the information about the fake Google to the computer. Then computer requests DNS to work with the fake Google. It's like that. It goes the information from 192.168.03.50.50 to the Google, and it goes like 217.219.428.77, and it goes, but instead of Google, it's fake Google. It will go to the fake Google. Then the fake Google will send the fake information like executable script, okay, executable script, or it can be malware or ransom. Okay, it can be malware or ransomware. It will send it to the IP address, and it will directly deliver it. The DNS, Ali, I will explain for you later. It will deliver it to the computer. To secure the connection. Hussein, it's not important whether you use the secure connection or no, because it's already fake. If you use HTTPS, if you use certificate, you will understand this is fake Google. But if you don't use certificate, it can be any site. And even if you use keys or if you encrypt the data, it doesn't help. Okay, it doesn't help. So the answer, the fake Google will send the information to the NAT server. Okay, the fake Google will send the information to the NAT server, and the NAT server will directly send the information to the computer inside the network. And then when you have this malware or ransom or executable script on the computer itself will send the information through the NAT server directly to the attacker and will connect to the attacker. So you can attack in this way. You can attack computers on the other side of the NAT. Okay, with this way, because NAT, I will write it in Arabic as well. Sorry. You see, and NAT can prevent the attacks from the outside, but لكنها لا تستطيع فعل شيء لمعلومات من داخل الخارج. Okay, but it cannot do anything regarding the information that will go from inside to the outside. Was it clear? You just tell me whether you understood the concept or not. We explained two things. First, what is NAT and how it covers the computer inside from the attacks. Second, how we can attack the computers on the other side of the NAT server. Okay, if it was clear, just one student, I don't remember whom, asked about the what we can say, DNS, and what is the rule of DNS. I will explain DNS again later, but first you just tell me whether you understood the concept or no. I give you 1 minute to Okay, was it clear? Can we go to the next topic? Okay. The next thing that we are going to discuss is now we talked about NASPER. Yes, thank you, Risha. I understood. Okay. The next thing that we are going to discuss is some firewalls concerns. It's where we talk about firewalls and NAT and proxy or whatever we use as a defense. Is that for firewall it is very important that how good is the configuration of the firewall, and the configuration is based on the Hossein, if your security is important, it's better that you use both. Okay, good question. It's better that you use both. Ibrahim, the responsibility of NAT is the first one. Its job is to provide an IP address to number of users, invalid IP address, or share a valid IP address to the users. But it increases the security. Okay, the reason is that one, but it will increase the security. Okay. Saleh, I didn't get what you said. What is Master Alliance? Oh, okay, Saleh Arabic. One of the students, Ali or Rasha or whoever can, just please explain the NAT, okay, and also the how we can penetrate through the NAT. Thank you very much. Which one can explain? Just raise your hand to explain in Arabic. I know Saleh. I'm just asking who is volunteer to explain for you. Rasha or Ali. If you want, I will give you microphone. Those who can talk or who can explain, just raise your hand. Rasha says my microphone doesn't work. Okay, I will type it in Arabic. Ali, okay, thank you, Ali.
Salam, Doctor. Doctor, you have my voice?
Yes, Ali. Yes, Ali, you can.
Okay. I will explain on whiteboard.
I will explain, you translate to Arabic. It's easier, okay?
Okay.
The first thing, NAT is for converting or mapping invalid private IP addresses to valid internet addresses.
Okay. اخوان النات هي تقوم بالتحويل الوالد، العفو، IP addresses دكتور.
Invalid IP addresses. Yeah, I type in the chat.
تقوم بتحويل الاي بي، عناوين الاي بي الغير صالحة الى عناوين صالحة، او تقوم بمشاركتها، وكذلك انها تقوم بزيادة الامان. هاي وظيفة النات اخوان. لأن الاتاكر المهاجمين لا يستطيعون رؤية الحاسوبات يعني أو المستخدمين في الجهة الأخرى من النات، وبذلك لا يستطيعون الهجوم عليهم. ولكن إذا الهكر أو المهاجمين استطاع أن يجد طريقة استطاع أن يجد طريقة بحيث الحاسبات اللي تكون في الجهة الأخرى من النات تستطيع إرسال المعلومات خارجا. فبهيج حالة النات ما راح يكون قادر على حماية الحاسبات من الهجومات.
So thank you, Ali. It was all. Thank you for translating. It was all about the net and how we can protect the computer from the net. Okay.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Okay. The next thing is that when we talk about the firewall, we should know what we are using. It's in these two slides, we talk about the firewalls and then pro and cons. Okay. Yes, thank you, Ali. Thank you very much. He helped me a lot. Okay, firewall is as good as its configuration. It depends on its configuration, and configuration is done by the people. So even sometimes when you test something, you miss something, and that's the problem. Firewall weaknesses is that they give a little or just a small protection from the attacks that comes from inside, as your friend said. Okay, from attacks that comes from inside. Not firewall, not net, not even air gap. They cannot do anything because it's inside the network. Okay, the next thing is that firewall failure can lead to network failure, and the last one is firewall may have vulnerabilities that attackers may exploit. For example, you can always use DOS. Okay, you can always use DOS to attack the firewall. Okay, and when you use the DOS to attack the firewall, when the firewall fails, okay, when the firewall fails, network fails. Okay, when the firewall fails, network will fail. It's obvious. Okay, so this is it. Maybe a firewall has vulnerabilities in Arabic. Vulnerability in Arabic, it's قابلیت تأثر. Yes, exactly. Or نقاط ضعف. نقاط ضعف also in Farsi we can say نقاط ضعف. Okay, قابلیت تأثر or نقاط ضعف of firewall. And I already gave you one example, which is DOS. Okay, when you use DOS you can attack firewall easily. Okay, so all things about firewalls. Firewalls are great when they use properly, that they are used to implement the network policies, siyasa. They used to implement network policies. They can do different things for you. Firewalls can be firewall can play the role of the, for example, router in the network. It can be like a NAT or proxy in the network. It can also work as NAT and proxy in the network, and it increases the security, or even it can be, or it can act as air gap in the network, on the network. Okay, it can help to protect the resources. Some people think that when we have firewall everything is okay, but we finished everything with the security, but it's not like that. But because there are many problems that, or many attacks can happens from inside the network or can pass through the firewalls. They are not easy solutions. It's complicated to configure the firewall. It needs a specialist and professionals to configure the firewall, and it's a continuous job. They should be done periodically. Configuring the configuring means takveen. Okay, takveen or configuring the firewall is a continuous task. Okay, it's هي مهمة مستمرة. Okay, it's, you should do it continuously for monitoring, fixing the problem and everything, and so on and so forth. So this was all about firewall. Now we go to the next thing or next concept, which is trust relationship. So any question regarding firewall and the NAT and the air gap, everything? Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, finish. The next thing we talk about trust relationships. Trust relationships means that when we rely on someone. Okay, trust in Arabic is ثقة. Thank you, Ali. Yes, exactly. Trust in Arabic means ثقة. Okay, when we trust or something on something, we create a rule, or we create a siyasa. Okay, we create a rule or we create a siyasa for trusting someone, and it leads to additional access and additional rights. It will lead to additional access and additional rights. Okay, because we give additional rights to some people or some systems, it will be potential for vulnerabilities or ضعف. Okay, it creates ضعف, okay, or vulnerability. Because usually trust is, in Farsi we say شرکت پذیر, okay. In English we say extendable. It means that, for example, if A trust B and if B trust C, means A trust C. Okay, if A trusts B and if B trusts C, it means that A trusts C. It's in Farsi we say شرکت پذیری. Okay, maybe Arabic مشارکت or extensibility, something like that. So what happens if B misbehaves? Okay, what happens if B doesn't work properly? In network there are many servers or services that we trust on. In network there are many. في الشبكة هناك الكثير trust. نحن نثق. Okay. في الشبكة هناك الكثير نحن نثق. There are many systems or many servers that we trust. We used the previous example, if you remember, we talked about the DNS, and I told you that we will talk about it later. Okay, we go to the next one. Like DNS servers, using directory servers for authentication, using shared passwords, using firewall rules. So you see, you trust your firewall, you trust your DNS server, you trust your DHCP server, you trust any web server that you go to that web server, you trust the web server, you trust your authentication server, you trust your KDC, CA, okay, you trust your directory server, you trust device brands, you trust your applications, you trust your operating systems, you trust your antiviruses, okay, and so on and so forth. So there are many things in the network or on your system that you trust them, okay, you trust them. So it means that, for example, consider that you have one engineering workstation on the other side of two firewalls. You see, we have two firewalls. You consider that you have one engineering workstation on the other side of these two firewalls, and you are in your home and you're working through the VPN. Through the VPN, you go to the ISP, you pass the first firewall, you pass the second firewall to access the engineering workstation, and you work with the operating system, XP operating system. You see what happens? What are the trusts that you are using? First, you trust who else, in addition to you, who else does access or has access to the engineering workstation that we have here, okay? Consider that consider that you use VPN from home to other side of two firewalls. Okay, consider that you used VPN to access the workstation on the two other side of the firewalls. Who else does access to the secure system? Who else does access to this secure system? من آخر يكمن الوصول إلى هذا النظام الأمن. Okay, this one. The main question is this one. من آخر يمكن الوصول إلى هذا النظام الأمن. Okay, who else can access this system for you, that in addition to you that you have the actually VPN? Okay, no, it's you that using this system. Okay, we're talking about the trust relationship. The first one is Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft has access to your system, so it can use your system to access the engineering workstation. Who else? For example, Bitdefender antivirus. Bitdefender has access to your computer, and from your computer can access the VPN and information that will pass through the firewall. Who else is your internet provider? Your internet provider. It's either, for example, a Iran cell, or it's shuttle, or it's Hamrah Aval, whatever it is. It can access your network. ISP can access your network and can access your system, and through your system can access the engineering workstation on the other side. Who else? The one that can control DNS server, because usually you ask the information from DNS server. Who else? The one who has or owns the ADSL modem. For example, the brands of Utel or Tricom or D-Link or TP-Link. Okay, all of these brands that you are using, okay, they have access to your system, and then they can use your system to access the engineering workstation. And the next group of people that we trust, or the things that we trust, are those who create or produce firewalls, like, for example, Cisco. So if your firewalls are Cisco, for example, if your firewalls are Cisco, the Cisco can also access the systems, because they can directly access the system. And also the operating system that you use, for example, like Windows update, okay, it's because of the, so Microsoft can access the system. These are the groups, or these are the we can say peoples and companies that we trust. Okay, and if yes, Windows 10 exactly is from Microsoft. And when we trust these people, it means that if they want to violate the rule, or if they want to abuse our trust, they can do that. Okay, I will write it in Arabic for you. If they tend to abuse your trust, they can. Okay, or if they compromise أو تم اختراقها فأنت معرض. Okay, if they compromise, you will be exposed. Okay, this happens to you. So usually we just show the trust in this manner. We show the trust using a array of 0 and 1. It means that if we just write all of the nodes here, and also we write all of the nodes here. Okay, and then when there is a trust between two nodes, for example A and B, we put 1, and if there is no trust between A and B, we put 0, and then we convert the 1 and 0s to the graph links, and it becomes something like this. We create a graph based on the trust of the people. Here we have one example for trust. We have one example. We say that, okay, if you have 40 workstation, 3 servers, 2 databases, and 4 web servers, the trust graph for all of the systems can be something like this. You see, from everybody to every place there is a way, or there is a link. So from file server you can access the, for example, database server, and from database server you can access the web server, and from web server you can access any computer of the network. So everybody are connected, and we can use the trust to attack the system or get the access to the systems. Okay, the conclusion of the trust relationships, there are risks. Okay, risk in Arabic مخاطره. Okay, trusts are مخاطره. Okay, they are risks, and then but they are خطر. Okay, that they increase the exposure. Okay, and then what you should do is that first you make sure that you know all of your trusts, then remove those which are not necessary, and then calculate those are necessary, and then try to reduce the effect of those trusts for your system. Okay, we reached backdoor. It's already around 4:20. Okay, just have a break to 4:45. Okay, a quick break, and because we already started late, and then 4:45 again we'll start our class, and we will finish between around 6. Okay, we will finish around 6. Just take a break, and I will write in notes. Now is for, let's say, 20, break to 4:55, then we will continue. Okay, and then at 4:45, yes, we will continue, and then just something which is important. Yeah, it's 25 minutes. Yes, exactly. I will close the class and start the class again because of the recording. I will close this class, and when we start that class, I will open the class again, and then you can come to the class.